So I think NKeal Harry is in a prime spot for a breakout sophomore season. There's a couple reasons why I think this, and then I'm going to go through his strengths and weaknesses as a player. So first things first, I think it's safe to say that his rookie season was frustrating. It started off by him getting hurt. He had a nagging hamstring injury, which affected him for most of the year. And then when he did come back, the way he was utilized was also frustrating. It didn't seem like he was a big part of the playbook, especially in his first few games playing. Towards the end of the season, they got him a little bit more involved. They gave him a lot of end arounds. They were finding ways to get him the ball with space in front of him. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was nearly enough. Him and Brady never really seemed to get in sync, and it was frustrating to see the way things unfolded with him. I mean, his snap counts for some of the games were extremely low. He was getting outsnapped by Jacoby Myers, for crying out loud. And that's frustrating because even if NKeal was behind on maybe learning the playbook, just because he hadn't been out there, I get that, but he's also talented and he can make plays, as we saw in some of the limited times he did get to touch the ball. And I would rather have a guy out there who might not know all the time what he's supposed to be doing, but does have that big play capability than a guy like Myers. It was also very frustrating as a fan to see lots and lots of rookie receivers have huge rookie seasons, especially because NKeal Harry was the first one taken out of all these guys. It was tough to see plenty of guys taken after him have really good seasons and ball out, and NKeal have a subpar, lackluster one. Guys that were taken in last year's draft that had an immediate impact include Deebo Samuel, Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, AJ Brown, but all those guys went after Harry and they had pretty dope seasons. But anyways, I think NKeal is in store for a much better sophomore season, and this is why. So number one, I think Brady being gone actually helps NKeal. And the reason I say this is because the offense for the past 20 years has been tailored around Brady and his strengths. There's been a system in place, and they've played it to a T. But now that system left with Brady. So now, instead of focusing on surrounding Brady, I would think that they would form the playbook around their best players. And as it stands right now, I think NKeal is number 2 on that list, on the depth chart behind Edelman. This next reason kind of goes hand in hand with the first one. Brady's gone and Stidham is here. So assuming Stidham is the starting guy, I think this helps NKeal. Not only are they both second-year guys, they should have good chemistry. They spent a lot of time together in training camp last year. So if they get on the same page, that could bode well for the team. But also, I would assume the offense would be a lot looser without Brady. And what I mean by that is, we don't really know to what extent Stidham's strengths and weaknesses are, because we haven't seen him in any regular season action really. And you can watch him play in training camp and in preseason games, but you're not actually going to know what he's good at and what he isn't until he's playing regular season games. And I think with that, you need some trial and error in your offense. And I think that looser system bodes well for a guy like NKeal, because I think he's going to get to run around more. Last year, they were very reserved in the way they used him. I think him running around more and embracing those strengths of his will show and produce in the stat line. Stuff like screens, short crossing patterns to get him in open field. And the biggest thing I want to see more of is taking shots down the field. I remember very few shots down the field to Harry. The ones that did get thrown his way, it seemed like a last second or a last resort kind of thing. Like there was nothing really there in the play they actually wanted, so they just kind of threw it up to Harry and hoped for the best. It didn't really have a chance on any of them. The only one I remember something actually happening on is the Bengals one that didn't even count because there was a flag thrown right before the play. But I definitely want to see more of that. And that kind of leads me into his strengths as a receiver. And the first thing that immediately comes to mind is his body frame. He's a big-bodied guy. He's listed as 6'4", 225, and he's athletic. I think he's a good red zone threat. He's a guy that you can throw a jump ball to and catch, and he's one of those dudes who it doesn't have to be a super accurate ball. If it's thrown in the vicinity, he can out jump a cornerback or a safety or whoever and rip that ball away. He has that athleticism to do that, and I think that helps. Not that Stidham is super inaccurate or whatever. He might be. We'll find out, but if he does have some more errant throws or some inaccurate balls, a ball that's in the area, like not where it should be, but it's in the area of where it should be, I think Harry is able to grab those kind of passes. He has good hands. We saw this last season, and we've seen it in a lot of his college highlights. He's good at breaking tackles. I mean, the guy's a tank. I think the Chiefs play is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, like, he breaks like 3 tackles in this one. He just kind of bounces off of guys, you know, because he is so strong and so big. And the thing about someone like him who has that frame, as a defender, you know, a lot of defenders aren't that big. For a corner to be able to tackle a guy like Harry, they need to be in the right position, and they need to have the right form, right? Preferably, you want to either knock him down or wrap him up. And the thing with Harry is if the dude's in open space, he's pretty elusive for a big guy, and just the slightest juke can throw the defender off his balance, because to tackle a guy like him, you need to go right at him, right? You need to be aggressive, and you need to take him out. And with that being over aggressive, that works to Harry's advantage, because then it only takes a small juke to send a guy just slightly off his tackle route and either bounce off of him or whatever. Because you're not going to tackle Harry through an arm tackle, you know? Or if you wrap up half of his leg, he's going to run right through that. The way you're going to tackle him is wrapping him up, and anything less than that, he's probably going to run right through you. So being somewhat elusive and having that strength and size is a huge advantage. As far as weaknesses go, he has average speed. He could definitely be faster, but he's not super quick. The next one kind of goes hand in hand with that is, I think, separation. I think sometimes he doesn't have the best separation, and I think part of that is because he's not super quick. There were just a lot of times, you know, in the plays that he was out there last season, it seemed like he wouldn't get separation and he would just kind of stop running because he knew he wasn't getting the ball. And part of that is, I think, his route running. I think that could use some work too, but I think he can easily improve on this one. You know, working on timing with Stidham, working with the coaches on just what routes to run, you know, the timing of everything, when to break, that kind of stuff. But if he's running clean, crisp, well-timed routes, I think his separation is going to get way, way better. And I think the route running is the most important thing, because, you know, he doesn't have that lightning speed quickness. And part of the separation issue is negated by the fact that he doesn't need a whole lot of separation to go up and get a jump ball, because he's just stronger than them, you know. And there's plenty of examples of that in these highlights. I mean, some of these, there's no separation at all. I mean, there's clips in here where there are guys draped all over him and it just doesn't matter. Another reason why I think he's going to do better is, this one's kind of simple. It's he's healthy. He's had all this time to get that hamstring right. Hamstrings are really tricky, because once they start nagging you, they don't really go away. You know, the only way you get that to go away is by resting for a long period of time. And then even after that, you have a very high chance of re-aggravating that kind of injury. But with all this time off, I think he's going to come back healthy and stronger than ever. And I think if I were him, you know, on social media posts and stuff I've seen, he seems angry. He seems like a guy that has a chip on his shoulder and he has something to prove. And I think that's definitely the right mindset to have. But yeah, overall, I think NKeal's ceiling is like really freaking high, to be honest with you guys. I think he has potential to be a real beast, and I think this season's going to be a lot better than last one. So what do you think about NKeal Harry? Are you a fan? Are you not? What do you think's in store for his sophomore season? Do you think he's gonna ball out? Comment below, let me know. As always, like and subscribe, and yeah.